Today we're going to have a look at the age-old discussion of Collector versus Lord Dominic's Regards. Which one is better and why? Because this is a discussion I see time and time again where people discuss Lord Dominic's Regards versus Collector and saying X is better than the other. However, I don't think most people understand why or how it's better because Collector is not actually as bad as people think. So let's get started. And yeah, when we're done watching this video, you'll probably have a better idea as opposed to most regarding these items and why one is better than the other. But before we begin, as always, I hope you guys have a good morning, evening, night, whichever one fits. Shit like that. Alright, so let's have a look at the items here. I'm going to go over the stats. You guys might know them, but it will be relevant and hope you guys understand this more. So I'm going to go over them. Collector, 55 AD, 20% crit, which is the same as every other crit item, and then 12 lethality. LDR, 30 AD, 20% crit, as I said, it's going to be the same, and then 30% arm penetration, and then as well, Giant Slayer, dealing up to 15% additional physical damage against champions with greater max health than you. Okay, that's the stats, that's the items. Now let's compare, and this is where people will get this wrong a lot, okay? So, as I said, Collector has 55 AD, Lord Dominic has 30. What does that mean? That means that Collector has 25 more AD, okay? And they have the same crit. However, Collector has lethality, which is a flat number, and LDR has percentage, okay? And what does percentage do? It scales with a larger number, okay? Because it's not flat. So the more you have, the greater it's going to be, right? So it's going to scale better into the late game. As you get more items, you're going to get more AD. And we're going to see this here, okay? And also the Giant Slayer, however, you'll see in a lot of your games, regardless of what you're playing against, the damage is not going to be that great, okay? So it's not something I like to take into consideration when considering this here, because it's only going to apply against like Giga HP champions like Cho'Gath, Stack, if he stacks HP, right? So I don't really like to think of that, because mostly you're going to face tanky bruises and shit like that, right? So it's not something to think about too much. So in front of me here, I have 3 dummies with different HP, different armor. First one is the basic dummy. Second one is the one with roughly the same armor and HP as me. And lastly is the one with 100 armor and 2000 HP. When people say you need to have LDR, because when they pass 100, that's when LDR is better than Collector. Okay? So, now I want you guys to guess when, or do you think LDR will do more damage than Collector on all 3 dummies, or do you think LDR will do more damage on the third one and the second one, and then Collector on the first one? Okay? I want you guys to think about this and try and give an answer here before I start, okay? But we're going to start here. As you see, I'm dealing 131 damage on the first dummy, right? It's consistent every single time. 84 on the second one. And then on the third one, it's 78. Right, so 78, 84, and then we have 131. So 131, 84, gonna be the same every single time, and then 78. Yeah, so again, 131, 84, 78. Now the question is, do you think Collector will do more damage than LDR on all 3 dummies, or do you think Collector will do less damage on all 3 dummies? There's only one way to find out, so let's do that. Representing in the right corner, 55 AD, the Collector! Okay, so let's see. Okay, right, so again, first dummy, 131 with LDR, second dummy, 84, third one, 78. Let's see here. What number we're going to get? Greater or smaller? 131. I need to do bigger than that without critting. 156. It was not crit. So, as you can see, it's doing 156 on the first one. Knowing that, do you think Collector will do more or less damage on the second dummy? The one that is equal to another ADC like me, right? As we again can see here, I have 84 armor, this is 80, right? Roughly same HP. So, will Collector do more or less? We need to beat 84. 92. Collector wins again. Now let's see. On the third dummy, with 100 armor, coming in at 2000 HP, do you think the Collector will do more or less. The number we have to beat is going to be 78. Can Collector beat 78? Let's find out. 83! And the crowd goes wild. So, as you can see, Collector is dealing more damage than LDR on all of these 3 dummies. But why? Okay, now let's do this again, quickly, with R. Let's see here. I'm going to press my R. Boom. 211. Boom. 125. 112, right? And then, we'll do the same thing. Get LDR. LDR's been acquired. 186. 119. 110. But then we get a second item which gives AD. We're going to start seeing something different here, okay? Now let's go. With LDR this time. Might get a bit confusing, but I'll write it all up, so don't worry. 251. 161. 149. And now with Collector, 2 items, Kraken. 276. 163. And then we have 146. So now you can see on the last dummy here, it's actually dealing 3 more damage with LDR. However, on the second one, as you can see, LDR did 161. However, the Collector one does 163. So as this dummy with 2 items, Collector will actually deal 2 more damage as opposed to LDR. But there's one with no armor, Collector, again, does more damage. 276 versus 251, right? However, this is with ultimate up, which means that without ultimate, Collector would most likely again deal more damage to all of these. Because what we're learning here, LDR, the more AD you get throughout the game, the better it's going to become, even against the medium armor tanky targets. So even if they have less, LDR eventually at full build will become better than Collector. But Collector is still a really solid item here. Because imagine I went third now, Hurricane. Collector would probably deal more damage than LDR against most of the team composition, as long as they're not getting too tanky here, right? But generally speaking, Collector can still be a good mid item, but LDR will obviously scale later into the game the more AD you get, right? So Collector is not a bad item because it has 25 more AD than LDR. And that is something I think people heavily underestimate the power of with Collector in comparison to LDR. Because you can see here how much difference that 25 AD makes with just that flat 10 or lethality as you like to call it, right? It's obviously going to scale with levels too. However, roughly 13, 12 is when you're most likely going to have your second item spike depending on how fed you are, right? So that's why I'm doing it at this level here. And again, as we can see, even against 100 armor, Collector might even do more damage than LDR, given the right circumstances here. Because as I said, if I didn't use my ultimate, Collector would still probably do more damage towards the third dummy here as opposed to LDR. But as the game progresses, and if you're going late game, then LDR will most likely become better than Collector, and you can't really go wrong with either. But to say that Collector is objectively worse than LDR is just wrong, because it really does have its place here. Especially given the threshold of the execute, right? That also still has a purpose, and that can be the difference between that one extra auto attack that you would need at times, right? So you can't underestimate Collector. It's still a great item. So to objectively say that shit, and that's why you lost the game, is wrong. Because as you can see, the damage difference with LDR and Collector, even with 2 items, might just be 2 or 3 damage. It's not as big as you think. And that's what I want you guys to think here. And realize and understand. And just help you think about the items and how they work. Even with Bork and all these other things, right? You need to understand. Because even if people say something, do you understand? Do you really understand? Did you think this would be the result of Collector vs LDR? I don't think you did. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something here. And have a good morning, evening, night with your own Fitch. Shit like that. And yeah, take care. Peace. Bye.